here, people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhodes on the Buy Here, Pay Here morning show. Take it away, you two.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. So happy to be here again, home. That's like a huge thing.
Yeah. Good to be back in the studio.
Yeah,
and all set up in Clearwater, Florida. We enjoy traveling. We do enjoy getting out there and meeting the people. At some point, sleeping in different beds gets a little old. You like being home in your own bed.
Yeah, I think that I counted like a dozen
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. It's
Right.
Yeah, it was a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So those of you who listened in on Monday, we started a new series, which we're going to do through the whole month of August and then come up with the next topic for September. So it's like monthly Monday management. And the topic for this month is seize the day.
Right.
And so there was an assignment. Just want to hopefully y'all are doing the thing. If you aren't familiar with what we're talking about, go back and listen to Monday's broadcast and then start journaling the things you do during the day. And, if you want to add a little bit of like how much time it's taken you.
It was fun. We talked to a dealer yesterday in a virtual meeting and he showed us his handwritten list.
He's already started it. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Hey, Tommy.
Good morning. David.
Hey, David Norton. Good to see you here. We still need to sync up, David. We'll find time to get together. And but yeah, that's one of 5 broadcasts that we'll be doing on Mondays. There are 5 Mondays in August, and we're going to take each one and talk about, management and productivity and a concept that I call weekly initiative. So we're going to invite everybody to tune in for that. And
there's nothing more you need to do with it than just kind of keep track. That's it. That's all we're asking.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For this week, just keep track of all the stuff that you do as a dealer or a general manager, for example, and then we'll talk about that more next week. But yeah, for today, we wanted to talk about a particular subject. We threw a poll out there.
Oh, it's White Hat Wednesday, by the way. So this is about how to be a better dealer, like being a hero, being the good guy.
Yeah, we're trying to emphasize the way to have success as a dealer and have your customer be successful along the way. In fact, we think those things go hand in hand. So we are out there making the business case for that all the time. And, Wednesdays for us on White Hat Thing is about spotlighting dealers that are doing things well. And it's about introducing new concepts, or maybe they're not new to a lot of people. They're just, they're not talked about enough in our industry.
And so, usually when we talk about the concept of the White Hat Way, if we have new listeners out there, if you get on the BHPHinstitute.com, there's a tab for the White Hat Way, so you can read a little bit of the history about that. But it kind of starts with just a really simple question. Do you want your customers succeed or don't you? Because it's, that a lot of these things that we talk about are about helping your customers succeed.
Right. And I think, I often say it in a different way. Like I will say, do you care whether your customer is successful? Do you care whether your customer makes it to the end of their contract or not? I can't make somebody start to care, but what I can do is start to help them connect the dots on why it's good for their business to take the approach. And, caring obviously has to be genuine, but from a pure business standpoint, what we wanted to talk about today is this question about, if we asked it as though it's collectors. When we train our collectors out there, do we have them ever ask the customer about their car? In the days when we had more people paying in person, obviously that's shifting now, and we've got more and more people paying by phone or, online, ACH, whatever, and that's just part of it. But when we do have interaction with customers, are we training our people to ask them how the car is performing? And, I think the results that we got back so far, are overwhelmingly, no. Now it's a small sampling. We just put the poll out last night. We had 21 respondents so far in the success group, and 17 out of 21 said that No, they do not train collectors to ask that question about, how's the car performing?
That kind of actually brings like another question is anyone
Yeah, anyone in
asking,
the
is
operation, right?
anyone in the operation when there's opportunities to connect with your customer, is anyone in the operation asking how the car is performing?
And maybe we could even ask it a different way. It's like, do we see the benefit in having people on our team ask that question? So it's really about, it's about proactivity here. It's about
Mhm.
understanding, the customer's situation. This, at the end of the day, is our collateral. We're a buy here, pay here dealer. This is our collateral that we're talking about. And we've known, every one of us that's been in the business for more than 5 minutes knows that the customers don't want to pay when the car's not running.
Mhm.
So now this is why it becomes a collections matter. And we talked about, and by the way, this was early July. We did a session. And I don't know that in the name, Michelle, I don't know that we called it anything reference to customer advocacy, but I think it was
Oh.
on our July 6th
We've
episode.
teased it a bunch of times, but yeah.
Yeah, but if you go back and find that episode, I think it's on July 6th, where we talked about what we call ways to reduce charge-offs. So this is kind of in the same context. And so that episode introduced the concept of customer advocacy. And I'll try to find that and share it in the thread with this broadcast when it goes out. But um, the idea here is that we recommend to our clients that we do get in the habit, cashiers, collectors, and this is not every time. Tyler
Yeah.
Simmons, our friend out in West Texas, raised a thing about, it could get a little redundant, and I totally agree if you did it every time.
Yeah, but okay, so we talked about that last night when we saw that Tyler put the comment out there. But I brought up, I go to the grocery store, the same grocery store. I go to the grocery store 2 to 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
And every single time I get up to the cash register, they say, "Were you able to find everything that you were looking for?"
And every single time I say, "Why? Are you hiding stuff?" No,
like, where are the
that's it.
maple donuts?
That's right. No, that's the old
but
joke.
they ask,
Right.
Did you find everything you're looking for? Because most of the time people are gonna like, yeah, it's fine. But if you weren't able to find the thing, that they're like, oh, let me help you, because I've done that. Or it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, everything except I wasn't able to find blank.
Right.
And so they'll quickly look, and then if obviously they'll dig into their system, and sometimes it's like, oh, it looks like we're out, or oh, we aren't carrying that anymore, or it's on aisle 7.
Mhm. Right.
Which, it's very, to me, it's kind of a similar type of thing as far as the redundancy piece is just asking. And a lot of times I don't think that they're going to say everything's fine.
Yeah.
And like, would you stop asking me? But they're gonna, yeah, everything's great, or yeah, we're having a little problem with da 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 da, and that opens up a great conversation to be able to
Yeah.
help.
And this is kind of a training question, and it's like a training matter. It's
Mhm.
like in the context of training, I feel like we should give our people the latitude, because we've heard it. You've been in the operations, and I've
Mhm.
listened to enough recorded phone calls from collectors, and they sound very robotic.
Mhm.
It becomes just almost machine like, where the customer calls in, "Are you paying this?" And it's non-personal. It's
Mhm.
very robotic. And all I'm simply saying is, if I'm waiting for the computer to load, I'm gonna try to train people to say, talk to them about whatever, talk about the weather, but then ask them, "Hey, how's your car getting along?" Isn't that the nature of our relationship?
Oh
If I
yeah.
check out at a hotel, don't they say, "How did you folks enjoy your stay?"
Mhm.
Don't they?
Oh,
Why do they do
they
that?
send a survey
Right.
even.
Right. Why?
Yeah, and we stay in a lot of hotels.
And
Get
we're
asked every
and
time.
so, you can ask the
Mhm.
hotel, do they want us to continue to do business with them for the next 3 years? Of
Mhm.
course they do. They want to
Mhm.
know if there's a problem with their experience.
Yeah, and it's interesting, when we spoke at Buy Here Pay Here United this last spring. We talked about being someone different.
Mhm.
Like, we use Chick-fil-A as kind of an example,
You mean
as
having the dealership be known
having,
differently?
yes, not
Right.
not being
Yeah. We're always
yes,
different.
that's
Yeah.
it. We're always
Yeah.
different. And someone asked, in the days of ACH, how do we stay connected? And it's like, Kate, Because part of the problem, if you're not staying connected with your customer, if you're not asking them the questions, then when a problem arises, um, they don't feel like they can come and talk to you about it. It's this feeling of shame or feeling of, they're going to be upset, or I can't make my payment, or something needs to get fixed. I don't have the money to do it. And what do we know from experience with our customers is that we run the risk of them just going silent when they need us and then buying somewhere else, and we end up having to repo them. And so is it worth asking that question? And yet, yeah, everybody out there, you're going to have that person every once in a while that's just going to yammer on about how awful whatever is. Every dealership has those customers that will find something to complain about.
Yeah. And this is something I don't talk about very often, but I recognize that what we're talking about here is really part of a larger subject around, customer interaction and the job that we do on the collection side. So maybe I should explain it this way. Keep in mind, I was a dealer myself for 7 years. I've managed dealerships for many years besides that. And, we're working to have, excellent follow through, dialogue with customers, excellent interaction, and good relationships in every capacity I've been in. So among the things I would think about is that the collections team has more interaction with our customer than anybody else will. I mean, it's just the nature of, and even ACH. I mean, they're still going to have to call in or whatever, but the reality is that's our point of contact with our customer. So that just means maybe I should also add, I think of anything after delivery as being an account matter. Okay. So we can break down the whole thing about as is versus service contract versus warranty. I'm still saying
even if it's something that needs to be fixed, it's still an account matter.
It's not a sales matter anymore, for sure. In my approach to the business, it doesn't have anything to do with sales after they take delivery. And that's going to be true whether it's a, warranty matter or however we're supporting mechanical matters after delivery or any other. Because why would I say that? It's because it affects the payment. If a customer is dealing with a warranty matter and they're expected to cough up $150 deductible, do we think that's going to affect their car payment? I think so. And so we want to try to resolve that stuff together. And so this is just how we begin to do that, is to recognize that, in the collections department, they are, for all practical purposes, our customer relations department. Now, we suggested that dealers that are large enough and can justify doing it, place somebody in a role called a customer advocate, because now they're not really an employee of the collection department. They're not an employee of the sales department. Their primary role is customer success, customer advocacy, customer relations.
Yeah. And some of the places that we've introduced this position, they're the ones that are handling insurance. They're the ones that are handling a lot of those things that are about having communication with the customers. Like, have you got this in? This is what's happening. There's, if you have a service department, hey, it looks like you are due for an oil change or whatever. That person is specifically for that customer,
right,
to be their advocate for this, for the shop, even as well as collections.
Right. But if I'm a collector and I'm trained and I care, I give, one flip about any minute past right now, then I'm going to be able to say, I'm waiting for the customer's account to load so I can post the payment, and I can ask them, so, how you guys get along with your car? Maybe it shows on the screen, which I show you guys have this, such, how you getting along with it? What are the benefits of my asking that question? Well, for one thing, it could be a way for me to begin to learn that, I'm not driving that car. My boyfriend's been driving it or whatever. You could learn something that way, which is obviously a collection opportunity. But mostly I'm trying to find out if the customer says to me, well, it's fine, it's been overheating a lot lately. That's like red flag.
I mean, how much more expensive is something that needs to be fixed that's ignored?
Yeah.
Than if it's catastrophic.
And some might
Yeah.
say, well, I'm
Or
not too
if it
worried about
turns
that. I've got a
catastrophic.
warranty. If the car breaks down, it's got a warranty. Well, really, we want to file warranty claims that are $2,000 instead of putting a $150 thermostat repair on a car and solving a problem before it becomes a bigger problem. Like, these are just examples of where we sometimes make our job more difficult than it needs to be. And so this is why we thought this question was an important one to raise. It's like, why are we afraid to talk to customers about their experience with their car, and why not take a really proactive approach to that and just show that we care? Like, we still care. We cared about you the day you bought the car. We still care about you 12 18 months into this contract. We're basically saying we want to know if there's a problem with the car. We obviously, we understand. We don't have to say this part to the customer, but we understand if the car's not performing, you don't want to make your payment. So as a result, we want to know if there's a problem with the car.
And I would say, it's a lot of times it's not what you say, but how you say it.
Right.
I've taught that's actually one of the isms that my children sitting around a dinner table. I remember mom saying that, not what you is not what you say, but how you say it. So even like if with a collector, is it just kind of really just that's a casual question. That's not a hit list question where it's like, okay, is your address the same? Is the car performing okay? It's like, hey, how's the car coming along? I mean, is it doing what you needed it to do? How's, how are things going with that?
And it doesn't mean that the collector becomes a problem solver. If a problem emerges, the collector doesn't become a mechanic. In fact, it works to their advantage that they're not a mechanic.
Especially if they have a customer advocate, and they can just say, hey, let me transfer you over to so-and-so.
Absolutely. So this is about, monitoring how the collateral is performing, which isn't, has an impact on my ability to collect if I'm a collector, and I'm thinking long-term, and I'm also thinking about next week and next month's payments. And so I'm just trying to be proactive and help step in there and address a problem, when there is one. So this is why we recommend it. It starts to give you a little insight into the approach that we bring to all collections. It's really comprehensive. And I hope somebody listening will be able to help me come up with a better analogy. But years ago, I've used this analogy because I haven't come up with a better one, but years ago, my dad took a job, as a farmer rancher, and in the wintertime, there wasn't much to do on the farm. And so he took a job with a friend driving a delivery truck out in the rural routes, delivering, I think it was some sort of feed supplement for cattle or whatever, but he was driving a rural route. And my dad could be a little bit anxious and uptight. And as he started on this job, he was driving, he kept feeling the pressure of, I got to get to my next site. I got to hurry to get to my next site. Hurry. And then suddenly he had the realization somewhere on his journey that he said, oh, I don't need to hurry. Like, I'm doing my job right now. You follow where I'm going with this? Is like, I'm doing the job right now as I drive. I just need to relax and realize, because sometimes where this relates in the collection side, and again, if somebody's got a better analogy, please share it, because I'm really the connection I'm trying to make there is that we really need to recognize in collections that part of the job we do is we don't need to hurry to get the payment post and hurry to the next payment, hurry to the next payment. Part of doing the job and creating sustained success and reducing charge-offs is taking a few minutes to invest with each customer and get to know them a little bit, and chat and asking them about the car is a perfectly natural thing for us to do. There's benefit for us in knowing about that. And so I'm just saying it's part of the job as we do that. So maybe that affects how many collectors we have per account, in terms of our approach to that. But I'm just simply saying, look, if our charge-offs are higher than we'd like, let's look at this as one means to maybe start to move that needle.
Absolutely. And, one of the things I was looking at some numbers, and I don't have like a study in front of me, but I just from my personal experience, there's a couple of things I wanted to share from personal experience, but there was an article I read from HubSpot that was about good customer service. And that if you have really great customer service, if you've got good customer service, that what the numbers that they're using is that you have like a 60 to a 70% probability of that customer purchasing from you again.
Right.
Versus if you don't, it's and someone comes in off the street, and it's a new customer, you only have a 5 to 20% chance of selling something to them.
Okay.
So it's like just the idea of having really great customer service. It's a lot lighter of a lift to
Sure.
make it's that whole repeat customer thing. And we've talked about part of the white hat way when we've talked to some of these dealers is I think we were talking to, I think it was Gordy, that says that he has not advertised
Mm-hmm.
at all for
Years, maybe decades.
for decades, because it's all repeat and referral,
Right.
repeat and referral. And why is that? Because he cares.
Mm-hmm.
And he asks the questions, and they help where they can help, and all that. It's, I mean, how many of you out there would love the ability to have just repeat and referral business?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also the matter in that sometimes gets lost is the actual cost of attracting a new customer. If you looked at the cost of what you spent to,
Mhm.
close those customers, even at the 20% range that you mentioned, what you spend to create that new business versus what you would spend to create that, or to get a repeat deal with that customer you have already. We were talking with, it was Russell Moore, our visit to Texas. We talked about this customer retention thing. And I was sharing with him that in my own dealership, I was a business model that was very low ACV, very short-term contracts. And so we really relied heavily on the repeat sale. We,
Mhm.
it's kind of was critical in our business model. And so we were really hyper focused on that. And we actually broke ours out into a rollover sale, which was somebody who bought another car before they finished paying off the one
Mhm.
that they had. And another one was a reclaimed customer, somebody who paid off and they came back in to do business with us again, some point later. So we really kind of broke that down. But I would just say, as we look at another thing to think about, we meet dealers that are looking to grow their portfolio.
Mhm.
And typically their answer to growing their portfolio is sell, sell, sell. If I could increase my sales by 10, then I could grow my portfolio. Well, let me give you a little clue. There's another way to grow
You've
your
already got a
portfolio.
captive audience.
There's a way to
Jeez,
grow your
yeah.
portfolio is to save some of the accounts that you're currently losing.
Yeah.
And so we just think, and that's
Or
actually going to
invite
cost you.
them to buy again even. Sometimes it's just that simple little, "Hey, we see that you're," and we talk to a lot of dealers that do this, and it's
Sure.
successful. "We see that you've got like 6 months left on your contract or whatever, and you've been a good payer. How about we trade you up?"
Yeah, it could be for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
there's definitely approaches out there that we like to see people use,
Yeah.
but they first got to get there.
Yeah.
And they're less likely to get there if we let a car overheat and we don't deal with it and it fails. And even though the customer, because some of you will say, well, that's why I have my reinsurance company. We'll run that through the warranty thing and we'll handle a claim. Well, that's fine, except that's a super inconvenience. That's major inconvenience to your customer. Even though you're paying for the claim, you may or may not be providing a loaner car. I don't know where you're finding loaner cars if you're doing that, but basically
Mhm.
it's like, even if you do that, it's a major inconvenience to your customer, and we're running the risk of losing them, even though we've got a warranty. And we know that most of us are out there, seeing that happen a lot. But
Mhm.
it boils down to me is kind of back to the thing about why not be proactive and why not, find those problems before they become bigger problems. And it doesn't exactly apply in this situation, but I always think of, in this context, I think of a story from way back when I was just a new manager in Buy Here Pay Here. I'd been in the franchise business as a salesperson, sales manager, and I'd barely been in the Buy Here Pay Here business managing a location for, I don't know, 6 months to a year. And had a customer come in who it was in love with their car. Like they had bought this car and just loved it. And it was super clean, older car, but he and his wife just really enjoyed this car. And one day he came in with the saddest look on his face. And he says, Jim, I'm sick. He said, I just came from the mechanic, car's running terrible. And a mechanic, in my hometown, which is about 20 miles away, he said, they told me I need a new motor. And I'm like, oh man, that's a bummer, And so,
Mhm.
again, this doesn't exactly apply, but it's important for us to tie in later. It's like we end up going through that. We priced a motor. We end up, before we did anything, we ran it out for a second opinion.
Mhm.
Turned out to only need plug wires, about $35, and he was back on the road. So the point
Yeah.
is kind of, see where the tie-in is. It's like, sometimes if we're just proactive and we step in there and we
Mhm.
identify these things. Now, again, this is more of a warranty question, because you would run the risk of putting a motor in a car, instead of some plug wires that would be inside the deductible. It's like that's kind of a separate thing, but it's like we have to first know what's going on with the customer. We have to know kind of what's going on in order to step in and be proactive and have a chance to get involved and solve a problem before it becomes a bigger problem. We have to have interaction. We have to be plugged in with the customer and know what's going on, and that includes what's going on with the collateral.
Absolutely. And it's so talk to them, ask them about your collateral.
It doesn't have to be every time.
Doesn't have to be, but I mean, make it a practice. It's like, hey,
don't be afraid to do it because it's benefit.
How's the car going?
Right.
And there's a couple of things that actually tie into this that we're going to be unpacking. That's my phrase for talking about later. We're going to be unpacking a few different topics around this over the next month or the next few weeks. One of them is there was a Facebook post a few weeks back on dealer or I just work here.
Oh yeah,
that's one of them that we're gonna have it take the opportunity in the next few weeks to talk about on a White Hat Wednesday. And then the other one is the art of listening. And we had a conversation, all of you guys know that we are friends with Bill Elizondo, and he's coming into Tampa soon. So we were like making arrangements to go get some smoked old fashions. And we were just kind of talking about, how things are going. And he brought up something about the art of listening. And so we're going to see if we can get Bill to join us on the show, and we can talk about that. I don't think next week's going to work because I think Wednesday's a travel day for him, but maybe the week after. But so yeah, there's a couple of really good topics that we would like to unpack more about this idea of really being open to having a conversation with your customer.
Right.
And how beneficial that, I mean, heck, if we're looking to be able to, get those repeat or referral customers, then it's essential that we take the time to have a conversation and see, how their experience is.
Yeah, and like I say, we don't have to be redundant or repetitive or bring it up every time, but we also just should not be afraid to have that conversation and go there. If we're that afraid of our collateral, we need to take a deeper look at our business model, because that just tells me that if we're afraid to step into that conversation, then and that creates turns flames into full-on fires, then let's just do some firefighting and figure out what that problem is and get to the bottom of it. Try to because we just really should have more confidence in the cars, and we should recognize the value for us when we step in and solve those problems quickly.
Yeah, and I think too, just it goes to be said that it's a really good idea to have some kind of a warranty, reinsurance kind of product that you have the ability to be able to help beyond that whole adage, Mr. Customer, you just bought this car, and if it drives off the lot and then falls into two pieces, you now own two pieces of a car.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can we help support better? And those reinsurance products are really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And we can just continue to, you and I, through this format and other places, we just continue to work out the math and just show people mathematically, here's why you want to do it. And by the way, with our collectors, we could, if they ask and something comes up, the customer says they've got a problem, it's easy to give them a little short list of one or two things that they do to how they send the customer to where they need to go to get the problem solved. It's just, it's a level of advocacy, whether we have a designated advocate on our team. That's a new concept. As far as I know, we haven't heard anybody talk about it before we started sharing the idea, but it's like, if you don't have a dedicated advocate on your team, we can train our collectors to be advocates, because they talk to the customer more than any of us.
Yeah.
And so let's make sure that we're kind of out there, with the feelers and addressing things.
Yeah. If you want to learn a little bit more about this advocacy program, please feel free to reach out, and we can set up a call
Yeah,
and talk to you
we've
about
written
it.
job descriptions,
Yeah, we
pay
have.
plans
We've
around
written
that. So yeah.
all of that. And if there's anything else that we can help with, you guys feel free to reach out to us, and we'd be happy to do a discovery call and answer a couple of quick
Yeah, of
questions
course.
and move forward with that. Reminder before we sign off: don't forget to do your journal.
Mhm.
Yep.
Journal the
And
stuff.
yep, I think it's going to be really beneficial for a lot of people to kind of see, how they are moving about their day.
Right.
And it's kind of like the same thing as like a food journal. It's like, I didn't realize I ate so much.
Oh, I knew.
It's
Yeah, I knew. For me, not you. I knew I did. So yeah, I think tune in every Monday in August, please. You'll
Yeah.
we think you'll find that helpful.
And I think that's all we've got for today. Friday's coming up in just a couple of days, and we'll have a really great topic for you then. Until then, we hope you have a great Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. Get yourself ramped up for Payday Fridays.
Yep.
We'll talk to y'all later.
Talk to you Friday.
Thanks.